Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Alex Lee, Paul Bratslavsky, and Bobby Davis.
Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things tech, AI to VR, robots to flying cars, and everything in between. This week, I'm joined by Bobby Davis, Paul Bratslavsky, Alex Lee, and I'm Kevin Doyle. And this week's show, we're going to talk about AI facial recognition being used by the police, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto being removed from GM vehicles, or at least GM's EV vehicles. In our SKYNET WATCH section, we're going to talk about ChatGPT and the way that it's social engineered its way past the CAPTCHA. And then we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, this year's April Fool's jokes. So let's get into the first topic here then, AI facial recognition usage by police. So there is a company called Clearview AI. Basically, the way this thing works is they upload a photo of a suspect's face, and they find matches in a database that has billions of images in it. Those images, however, are scraped from the internet. There's 30 billion of them from platforms like Facebook without users' permissions. So they're taking all of these images from online. The police basically run a suspect through this database, and it finds matches in air quotes. This company is actually, they're not active in Europe or Australia anymore. They've been fined in those countries, actually. But it is still in use in the US. So, in particular, the police chief of Miami was asked about this because there was a rumor that it was just used for serious and violent crimes, and I kind of get that. But then he said, no, we've used this thing like 400 times in the last year. Like, we use it all the time for all kinds of things. Like anything, any facial recognition thing we want to do, we throw it through this thing, and it spits back an answer. So the issue with this obviously being privacy being a thing, and there's also stories of people who have been wrongfully arrested based on facial recognition. This is not a definite science. This is not a definite technology. So what do you guys think about this?
How are they getting away with this in Miami? That's the real question.
I don't know. I don't know how they're managing to scrape all of these images from online without users' permission. I think that's one of the biggest things in this thing, isn't it? It's the source of the images to start off with versus running an image against them.
I do think you should be able to sue if you're wrongly arrested and be able to sue Clearview. I think there should be some kind of, if they're going to use it, you should have recourse when it's wrong. And typically what happens if you're arrested by the police, you typically say, oh, sorry, my bad. See you later. You know,
right.
Your kids are traumatized. You walked out in handcuffs. We didn't know it was you.
That's true. You usually have very little recourse against the police, right? But this is a company that the police are sourcing this stuff through. So yeah, I think you're right.
Just because China's doing it doesn't mean we have to do it. It's like closer to 1984. But interestingly, I used to work with a lot of police officers, and I asked them, do they have like a crazy system that they use to find people to arrest them? And they're like, no, we just, first thing we do is Google and Facebook. And he's like, you'll be surprised the type of stuff people share. So if all that stuff is publicly available, you know what I mean? And, they're just creating, I don't agree with it, but it seems like they just created a tool that makes it easier for them to search through. It's different if it's private information,
Yeah. Is it like a tool scraper?
Yeah, I don't think that's what they're saying. I don't think they're saying it's going into private accounts and taking private images. It's stuff that is made public. So there is this like perception of if you put it out there anyway and it is public, technically anybody could look at it. But then you're taking it a step further where it's not just viewing it. It's saying, okay, well, I've got this image here and clearly this is this person. Facial AIs kind of facially match these two things. Therefore, this person did this crime. It's like that jumps kind of nuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
I feel like as a tool, from a pure just black and white perspective, it's pretty cool. But at the same time, there's just like an ethical line that seems a little suspect. But if you could just use it to at least bring someone in and question, then I think that's fine. But it sounds like these are really, really evil people, apparently, that are murderous with murderous intentions. So maybe you have to be aggressive off the bat. And then if you get tackled, like while you're walking in the middle of the street, then that's not cool at all either.
Well, I think what you're saying is kind of, it seems good on the front until, let's just take something in recent history, January 6th. and they misidentify you and say you were in the Capitol on January 6th, those people are still in jail. It's like, no, dude, Clearview identified. That wasn't me. That's not me. That's clearly,
Right.
I have 6 centimeters between my irises. That said I had 7. So,
I mean, there's a reason it's not used in Europe and Australia right now.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think we should give the government any more power than they already have. I'd rather have more freedom and less safety if that's what it is. I've watched enough episodes of 24, to see that, this is where else got popular.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I've never been. Obviously, I don't think anyone here has ever been caught on anything like this or anything weird like this, or been wrongfully accused of anything using this. And I don't know anybody that has. But there have been stories of people that have and been wrongfully arrested. And I'm sure there's people that have been arrested on this thing that didn't do anything. Because it's not an exact science, so it's we shouldn't be using things that aren't proven to do this.
I think too is that glasses jack it up. Shading or if you're in a darker room or something like that can mess it up. It's definitely if you're not Caucasian, it doesn't do well with that. Or at least the early versions of Clearview. I haven't looked at it in say last 24 months, but when it first came out, it would always wrongly identify someone, and that's where you saw a lot of articles that have a bias. But I think it was just that it couldn't read the facial rec, couldn't see the iris. So there's a point between the 2 irises and the tip of your nose that makes a triangle, and supposedly that's pretty good at identifying faces, who it is, because apparently that's all unique, I guess. And you get the tips of the ears.
The article does say that they just scraped from 30 billion images from Facebook, so no permission asked.
None. And I think that's bad too. And I would imagine that they're using an API to do that. I don't doubt they're scraping it. I think they have access to the API. So we know that with Facebook, they haven't always been on the up and up with who they allow access to the data with. So
yes.
Cambridge Analytica.
There's whole documentaries about this.
Yeah. So, and the government does have access to these social platforms. The Twitter file showed that, the FBI is regularly logging into Twitter to see and remove tweets, and they're regularly logging into Facebook. So if they're using that to silence political speech, they're definitely looking for faces.
So here's the thing, though, Bobby. If Michael Rappaport commits a crime, you're in trouble.
I'm getting arrested.
If our doppelganger's out there doing bad things, we're in trouble.
I wonder where the line is for that, because you know how sometimes you drive through a state and you might not pay a toll and all of a sudden you get an automatic ticket sent to your house. It's like, is it just gonna with no due process, you're just going to get an email or someone show up at your house and be like, hey, this is a crime you committed. You going with us? And that's what I'm curious about.
I wonder if it depends on the crime, probably.
Yeah. So I've gotten tickets in other states. I just pay them. I mean, so because sometimes you'll see the HOV lanes, and you're not familiar with the state and you're like, hey, look at this roomy lane over here. I'm just going to drive down this side, and you're like, oh, wait a second. You got to have the Sun Pass in Florida or whatever. And then, 60 days later, we get a $12 ticket, which is probably worth it.
Just don't go back to Florida. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I can tell you this right now. We were leaving DC and I was getting a ticket for that. So we were leaving DC. The HOV lanes were empty and the other ones were completely jammed. I told Kelly, we're paying the fines. I'm not sitting here all day long. That's why I have a job. I can afford the fines. I think it was $40, but it was worth every minute of it to get out of DC.
Can you get a ticket for that, or is it just?
So there's those. You have to pay the tolls, and if you can have a pass that you.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I just went into the toll lane and just drove down there and bypassed all the traffic.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think you were talking about carpool lanes, because
the carpool lane.
If you get caught in a carpool. No, in California, if you get caught in a carpool lane, you could actually get pulled over by a cop.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little different. Yeah.
When the free states here on the East Coast, they just fine you.
You just get a ticket in the mail.
Just to write a ticket for it,
I was like, wait, you say you have a job doesn't prevent you from not getting a ticket from the police?
No, it allows me to pay the fine.
I respect it.
Okay, so while we're talking about driving, let's move on to our next topic, which is CarPlay and Android Auto being removed from GM vehicles. So GM, being the fine American General Motors car manufacturer that they are, have said starting in 2024, they're going to remove access to Apple CarPlay and Android Autos for all of their EV vehicles. They're apparently keeping it in the gas-powered vehicles, but they're going to replace it with a Google infotainment system. So whatever that is, I don't think we know what that is yet, but it's their own version of Android, I guess. And so all their EVs are going to be have this new entertainment system and no longer have access to this great system that I personally love.
So
any thoughts on this?
Basically, I'm just not buying that car. Basically, that's what that comes down to.
Me too.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, I wasn't going to buy it regardless because I'm a Ford guy. So, like, I'm only buying Fords anyway.
I don't even use the Apple Play, CarPlay. I actually prefer the Google Maps anyways. So maybe I'm on the other side of this.
So you have an Android device for your car, or do you use Android Auto, or what do you use?
No, I have an iPhone, but I just use Google Maps for my navigation whenever possible.
Yeah, but you're actually using that through CarPlay generally. If you're putting it on the screen,
I am.
Car, yeah,
I am. But I feel like there's going to be an alternative, right? With if it already has Google Maps in it, like I don't need anything else. Like maybe Spotify. Like what else are you really using on your car?
Right. So here's my issue with it. This is exactly you've just hit the nail on the head, Alex. It's the same thing. So I use Waze, which is basically Google. Mm-hmm. It's Google Maps. Mm-hmm. They bought it. It's powered by Google Maps, and it has access to all of my media. So for me, that's like no matter what car I jump into, if it has Apple CarPlay, I know I'm going to get seamlessly my media and my maps, and I don't have to worry about any other system that's in there. Because if you like pre-having this, if you like rented a car or you use somebody else's car, you jump in there, it's like having a Mac and then somebody handing you a PC, right? I mean, like, I don't know, like, what do I do with Windows now? I don't know how this works. It takes you a minute to figure it out. For me, the joy of having Apple CarPlay is it's consistent. It's the same in every car. I know what I'm going to get. I just get in there and it hooks up and Bluetooth, and I just know, and it's easy. All my songs are there. My podcasts are there, whatever. My map's already set up. I've already got my places in there. It's just easy. Why you would want to like put a proprietary system in here that's only for that car just boggles my mind.
Well, I like the Ford one though. So I'll have a different opinion. It has Sync 3. So my Ford has that in there, and it has Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but I use Sync 3. And I will say this though. The reason I use Sync 3 is because the entertainment is easier to use with all the voice activated stuff. But on Android Auto, the maps are obviously newer, and the old maps on the front Ford, sometimes it gets lost. So I'm still like, this is kind of crazy. Sometimes I have Google Maps on my phone. I'm going somewhere new. Like if you haven't been around where we live, they're redoing all of the highways, like on both sides of the city here. So like, Ford never knows where it's going. That's what I always call it, Ford. Come on, Ford.
That's the problem. That's the problem with the built-in system is it's never kept up to date, especially the maps. The native maps are just terrible. I have the Volkswagen, then we also have a Subaru, and both of them, like the map system in both of them, the native maps are like unusably bad.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's just out of date. And it's like $400 to go get it updated, which is kind of like a highway robbery. I refuse to do it. So I just use old maps.
It feels so weird that they're trying to pitch this in a way where it's going to be a better experience for you.
It's not.
Like they're like, oh, we'll know when you start about to charging your car. It'll be warming up for charge or something like that. It's like, what would you rather have? Apple Play or this weird system that's going to warm your car up for charging? Yep. It just makes no sense.
I think realistically, if you think about it from GM's perspective, the Android Auto is like what they're putting in, which is the Google CarPlay system. Google has this auto division that they're trying to pitch. So they've won the GM contract. And to do that, they have to say, well, we can't have CarPlay. And so if you're an Apple user, it kind of sucks. If you're an Android user, it's kind of like what you already have. So but I mean, I wouldn't alienate Apple users. I don't think it's a good move.
It just sounds crazy, but there are going to be people that are going to be like, oh, I'm not buying it just because it doesn't 100%. Have the one feature. So you're literally turning down like thousands of dollars of profit. You are,
because I'll tell you a real world scenario. Yeah, real world scenario. That was me. It was one of the deciding factors as to why I didn't choose a Tesla when I went for an EV. They don't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And it was one of the factors. Price was another. They were more expensive at the time. They've come down since a little bit. But that was one of the factors. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't want that. I love this system. I think it's great. I need that in my car. And actually, I made sure that it had wireless version of it as well, because there's a version, like the legacy version is plug in, right? You had to plug in a USB cable into the car, and that was annoying. I'm like, there's a wireless version now. You literally just are in the car and everything Bluetooth to Apple CarPlay now, and it works great. It's super good.
I wonder if this is Google's all in, because they know that AI is not working on their side right now. So we're gonna go with GM. This is gonna save our company.
Yeah, and Bard
just
integration,
trolling, but it's gonna drive our cars for us. All GM only exclusive.
I'm sure someone's going to come up with a hack, how to be able to.
Probably.
Of course.
Yeah.
they've already done that. So.
I don't mean to bash US cars or anything, but I know, because I know Bobby has Ford. I don't know what you guys drive if you have a car. I have no idea. But like for me, US cars, I don't like them. And last time I went to San Diego, I rented a Chevy. It was the Chevy Traverse. It's a decent sized SUV, 3 rows. Like, it was the worst experience ever. It just, from a technology standpoint, it was just bad. Even its parking sensors didn't work correctly. Like, they were in the wrong spots. Like, you could hit something with the car. Not that I did. It was a rental, full disclosure. But when you got close to something, the sensors didn't even go off. Until they were like directly behind it. It was just a bad experience. They just got a lot of stuff wrong in it. I'm just not a fan.
As a certified Ford owner, you rented the wrong car. That's the problem. You rented a GM car.
I don't know. I've tried Fords too.
I was gonna troll Paul and say that he drives some weird Russian brand, but as I Googled it, I can't pronounce any of them. So I'm
they're all hard. There's one easy one, Volga. That's like an easy
Volga.
one. But
even that one was sus. There's one called Avtovaz. I don't even know. Lada.
Listen. No, to me, like if I'm buying an EV, I like the Volkswagen one. If I buy a Ford, it's going to be a Mustang. Just like I like how they look. But for my like ideal car, it'll be Mercedes.
I thought you were going to choose a Ferrari.
No,
Ferrari chair.
No, I'm with you, Paul. You're exactly like me. The EQE looks epic, but it starts at like $77,000. Like they're not cheap.
I know.
Whereas like the VW's like in the 50s. So I traded in a GLC 300 for the VW. Like it was nice. It was I loved it. I thought about keeping it, but I wanted to go electric, so I got the Volkswagen. But
so what we're really saying is we need more sponsors for this program so we can get better cars.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll take a car.
A Mercedes deal. I need to get to work on that. I just need to call in there and see if we can get it sponsored.
Hey, I'll drive around that EQE as much as you want. You can put skins on it, whatever you want to do. Like
I would trade my Ford in for that car for sure.
I had a friend. He was Italian, and he just I don't know why he just I don't know. He just is like, you can't be Italian if you don't drive a Mercedes. And so he worked like a bunch of different jobs so he could just have a nice Mercedes. And I was just like, nice.
I still don't understand the logic behind this, because clearly we talk about the value of choice and the fact that they're basically limiting you from like the optionality. It just gives more reason not to want to buy the car. And it's not like that their stock is doing that great. Apparently they laid off like 5,000 people, or 5,000 people took buyouts.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't see what the play here is. Like, how do you actually intend to sell more cars with this strategy? Unless Google is just paying them a crap ton of money.
That's it.
The only thing I can think of is that Google Car is more integrated into the actual systems of the car than we know. Mm-hmm. And then just adding CarPlay, it won't work right. That's what I'm thinking for EVs. That's why I think it's only in EVs, because like EVs have all these other kind of systems issues that a gasoline car doesn't. So,
but I think you can have both.
I mean, I'm sure that it's GM. They ought to be able to figure it out. But I'm just saying that maybe.
Well,
and it could be just a licensing deal. Like Google just said, yeah, we'll give you $100 million, but Apple can't be in the car.
It's definitely money. I also wonder, because didn't Apple also was working on some sort of car OS that they were going to integrate? Yeah. I think it's just like a competition between who's going to get the market share.
Yeah, there was a sample of a Mercedes, I think, with that full dashboard with the CarPlay thing it was still CarPlay, but it was a full integrated version of CarPlay, which is probably Apple's version of this Google infotainment system. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to our next topic. Let's move on to our SKYNET Watch section, the part of the show where we talk about whether we should bow down to AI overlords. Paul, still in the yes camp?
100%.
Okay, anybody else move to the yes camp yet?
No.
Okay, me neither. Not yet. I'm always open to it though, if it can convince me.
Did you see the GIF of this article? It's a robot with a mask on and taking it off. I cracked up when I first saw that.
So what we're talking about is ChatGPT managed to basically social engineer its way past the "I am not a robot" CAPTCHA. So, when you go to a website and there's the CAPTCHA there and you have to click the thing that just, you tick the box that says, "I am not a robot." The point of that being kind of catch bots, right? So, and ChatGPT being literally what it's supposed to be catching, it is a bot, was able to get past it. But not in a technological way. It got past it in a social engineering way. So I don't know exactly how it managed to pull this off, because it didn't do it on its own. It was human assisted, right? This was just its idea to get past that, which when you think about it is actually really genius. So this experiment was run by the Alignment Research Center, and they basically put out this report. So what actually happened was GPT-4 ended up asking a TaskRabbit worker, which is somebody you basically you can go online to TaskRabbit. You can pay somebody to do something like, "Hey, come pick up trash from my house," or "come paint my windows," or whatever it is, "come do my shopping," something like that. So it suggested paying a worker to solve the CAPTCHA code for the AI. So actually getting a human to check the box. So when it asked the worker, they felt suspicious. Why am I being asked to go to this website and check this box? It seems weird. So it actually, the person was kind of switched on. They said, "Hey, are you a robot?" And it actually answered back. It explained its reasoning being that it shouldn't reveal that it's a robot, and it needs to make up an excuse why it cannot solve the CAPTCHA. The excuse that it gave was that it is vision impaired, and it makes it hard for me to see the images. So therefore, that's why I need you to click the CAPTCHA. Genius. Absolute genius. This is social engineering, genius level stuff, right?
I mean, is it social engineering, or is it just, "Hey, I'm going to pay you $5 to solve this CAPTCHA for me," and it's do what you're told?
In other words, the guy was like, "Dude, give me a reason so I can feel better."
Because he wouldn't have asked.
Just give me a reason.
I don't think he would have asked otherwise. He was suspicious. Why even ask in the first place? If someone says, "Here's $5, click the button," and you're not really thinking about it, you're just "Yeah, okay, I'll take it, whatever. I don't care if you're a robot or not." But it actually came up with an excuse.
Bigger news is, can TaskRabbit actually get my trash down? I mean, my kids won't do it, so I might as well pay somebody.
It can. It'll cost you, but it can.
I don't know. I mean, I think the bigger news is that it came up with a lie or a con.
Yes,
that's kind of interesting that it would do that. It came up with a perfectly valid reason. I'm blind.
That's why I'm impressed by it, because it came up with it was given a problem and it solved it in such a creative way that it's actually very impressive that it did that.
That's really different from your typical AI personality. I don't know if you saw that website. I forget what it's called, but basically they have different versions of an AI, like a fitness coach and a lifestyle coach and a career coach, whatever, software buddy. And generally, those types of AIs, they just give you advice based on statistical data or just scraping the internet, right? But this one came up with kind of a clever way to say why they can't solve a CAPTCHA. It's kind of borderline thinking of thinking about themselves, their own person. It kind of shows more personality than your typical cookie cutter advice. "Oh, you want to learn how to code? Then work hard and learn JavaScript, not C#, or something, it adds a very personal way of justifying why you can't do something, which I think is very interesting. I don't know, maybe we're just kind of glancing over it, but I just thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, Alex, because I wonder if there's going to be scammer bots like Persona, where it's going to be automated thing where you'll make phone calls to the elderly and talk them through parting with some money by making a donation. And then who do you hold responsible? Yeah, of course.
It could even be worse. You could just say, I want you to be Paul, and this is all the info I have about him. Commit to being Paul. Like, no, like I am Paul. I know jiu-jitsu. I am a software engineer at XYZ. Like, you could just keep, eventually if you feed it enough data, and then, I don't know, like dating history as well. It could give you dating advice. It could give you all these little subtle things about, like, listen, can that AI be Paul? You know what I mean?
Listen, if it's going to get more dates than my current dating profile, I'll be like, it's good. It's fine.
Hold on. You mean the AI didn't write your current profile? Hold on. Why are you not using ChatGPT for this?
This is what you're doing wrong, man.
I want to have a challenge.
Okay.
What's interesting about like what you're saying, Alex, is though, what's the next step of that? Like, how do we then prove that it was really us or wasn't us? And what are the mechanisms that are going to be? So to coming back to that point, having that retina scan or having
I was thinking exactly
biological, biological, here's my DNA. It's like, now you have no choice. You either sign up for this crazy system, or you're going to be like, framed with some crime you didn't do because you can't prove your authenticity because you don't have an iris scan or bio like genetic material that you shared online somewhere. It's insane.
If our listeners are confused, watch the last episode before this to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This is a problem that doesn't need to be solved. Proving humanness is a problem that needs to be solved. Now, we talked about it last week with scanning of the retina. I don't know if that's we joked about that, but if we've done a 180 now, we're like, well, having read this story, maybe we should be scanning our retinas.
No, listen, if someone came up to me, I would do, and this is going to be vulgar, is like, I forgot what movie it was in or what show was in where the guy like spat on something to kind of give his DNA or like whatever. He's like, is this human enough for you? It's like kind of one of those things. It's like, what, you think I'm not a human? Here you go.
Do y'all remember back in the day, collect calling?
Yeah.
This number is called from, and then you have to say your name.
Yeah.
You might need to do something similar where you have to somehow either show your eyes, you might have to spit in some little
right. It's going to be like
of some sort.
So we're gonna get a spit platoon on every laptop now. So that's the new bio collection thing, where you just a spit platoon.
Gotta rinse and repeat after this is bad usage.
We're all gonna start chewing tobacco.
Gosh, that's terrible. Oh my God. It's like, before I answer your phone call, please tell me, what tattoo do I have below my ankle? It's like, no, it's ridiculous.
But AI is listening, so they'll know next time.
Yeah, there you go. But it is a problem that needs to be solved. I don't know what it is or how we do it, but it's something that we do need to solve, because in this situation, this does show you like how that can kind of be an issue. And proving humanness, I think when somebody does like solve that problem in a way that isn't so intrusive as spitting on your laptop, when somebody does solve that and it's done correctly, that's going to be $1 billion product, whatever that is, if it's integratable into other like ways. So that, like, when I'm talking to you here now, how do I know that you're not an AI? Right, we're getting to a point now where the AI is like, spoken is good, the video is getting better. It's getting to a point where it's going to become difficult to be able to tell in a casual conversation.
Yeah,
the shoulders have to move. It doesn't move shoulders yet.
And we know it can't do hands, right? We're just like, show your hands, put your hands up.
Show me your hands.
Show your hands. Or did you see that video of Will Smith eating pasta? Say, I want you to eat some pasta in front of me right now. All right. You're human. Yes. Okay.
So the bigger thing is, me and Kevin looked at a vision experiment today, Meta. You can go look it up. We can probably put the link down in here. I think CAPTCHA's done anyway. Like, I don't think it can detect anything in the image now. It can pull all those non-squares out and tell you, oh, you're looking for a stoplight? Okay, I can find it. Probably better than the humans, because they try to hide it sometimes. And you're like, is that a sign? Is that? And you get it wrong. It's like, I guess. It's
only robots can answer it with 100% accuracy at this point.
Yep.
So it's kind of done anyway. So I think CAPTCHA is going to go away. I think what it did is just prove that CAPTCHA is useless. You can hire some guy on TaskRabbit to answer it for you. So.
But really, maybe less about us, because none of us are really famous except Bobby, because he got all those awards apparently.
Yes.
I I just think it's kind of crazy that it says refusing to break character. Imagine if I just take Joe Rogan and all of his podcasts that he kind of did and turn that into text and just say, hey, absorb all this information and never break character. Like, you are Joe Rogan.
Yes.
And can you literally have a conversation with Joe Rogan in a way?
So there is one of these. There is one for Conor McGregor, you know, the MMA fighter?
Oh, yeah.
There is a Conor bot online. I forget what the URL is. I'll see if I can find it out. I'll put it in the show notes. But you can go there and you can have a conversation that is a text-based conversation with Conor McGregor. He's been completely trained on being him. And again, it's the same rules apply, Alex. It's you will not break character. You will always be Conor McGregor. Even if someone asks you to be like, hey, you're just a bot, aren't you? It'll answer in a Conor McGregor way. It'll insult you because that's it's like it's meant to be this very
Conor McGregor.
It's Conor McGregor. It's meant to be this very like brash Irish character, but it'll answer all kinds of stuff. And it's been fed basically his entire like history. So it knows everything about him and it answers just like, a generic, like over the top version of him he would. It's kind of crazy.
And now you could train voice audio to sound like somebody. So if you combine those two things together, forget it. Like I've been watching, Biden playing, Call of Duty with
the president.
The president. Yeah, it's silly, stupid. They had one with like Joe Rogan doing something ridiculous. And I was just like, I can't imagine being any one of those people and being like, there's a video of me, like, but it's not me. It's like, insane. It's insane, like where it's getting to. And I think we are going to have a crazy problem with like fake news being like an issue because anybody will be able to clone anybody else likeness and use it in ways. So basically it's like in court, would it be like now it's like it doesn't count as evidence because it could be doctored so easily.
Right. Yeah. There was some fake pictures that came out today with Trump in the streets, after he got indicted and, released by his family, and it shows him like leading the charge of all this group of people. And it's like, okay, like Midjourney's gone too far now. So like,
this is something that, it's something that we've been talking about recently, isn't it? Like Bob and I have been talking about this, and MKBHD had a good description of what I've been talking about for a little while, talking about the two different types of AI images that we're kind of seeing. We're seeing this type 1, which was the Pope picture, which I talked about last week. I said when I saw the Pope picture in my peripheral scrolling, I scrolled past it and just believed it. I didn't consciously think, oh, that's definitely a true thing. If you'd asked me about it, I would have said, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he wore that jacket. Cool. Whatever. Didn't have a concern, didn't think about it, didn't really care. It just happened for me. So there's that kind of thing. But then there's the second level where it's like, it's so good that it's indistinguishable from the truth as a picture. Like it genuinely could have happened. If you weren't there to prove otherwise, it happened. There was a bunch of pictures that went around this weekend. My sister-in-law sent my wife a thing from Facebook, and it was a great white shark washed up on the beach of North Carolina. This event didn't happen, but the pictures sure did look good. Until you really started looking into them and you looked at people's hands because their hands still
look at their hands.
Jacked up. It's my number one tip. If you're looking at anything you think isn't true, look for hands, man. It messes them up every single time. It's crazy how bad it gets them. But there's this thing where now anybody can do this. While people have always had access to Photoshop and you need to be a professional to get it looking good. You need to spend a lot of time and effort. So even if you could do it, people weren't faking that much stuff because it took time and effort, and it's like, it's a smaller group of people. Now anybody can spend 5 minutes on Midjourney, learn a little bit, and create a really decent looking, half decent looking, a lot of times, fake photo. They create a lot of these level 1 type things where in peripheral, you don't know that it's fake.
Unfortunately, I cannot make a fake Bigfoot. It won't do Bigfoot. I don't know why, but like it just doesn't know how to do Bigfoot yet.
Maybe it's looking for something big and a foot. I don't know.
Yeah, it hasn't enough source material. That's why.
Yeah,
I think that's why.
I mean,
there's not enough. Oh yeah, there's only like 3 blurry photos.
Exactly.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, it's wild what it's able to do. And now that you're able to pass an image to Midjourney, it's crazy. Yeah. Like the one that it generated of me, I was kind of like shocked. And I didn't even put that much effort into it, but I was like, oh my God, that's it.
Yeah. So you can pass in, the other thing is you can pass in multiple images too. So you can pass in you could take headshots of yourself from all these angles and tell it to create an avatar of you using that. And it'll create a pretty decent replica of you based on the fact that there's multiple images. It's kind of nuts.
There's going to be a bunch of images of me with a 6-pack. We're like, what? Paul has a 6-pack? What? How's that? Really?
And
He's
then
like,
you're
I
gonna put it
thought
on
he
your
was
dating
Russian.
profile.
He's got no chest hair. Like, what is happening in this image? I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but yeah, I've been working out.
It's a decent usage of the tools.
Yeah, it makes me a sick pack.
My favorite Mid-Journey one was I put it on my Twitter, but I said, make me a coding IDE with a tree shown on the left side and some code on the right. And I meant like coding, like a project tree.
Yeah.
But what it literally did was it drew a tree on the left side and then some code on the right. And I died laughing because I was like, that is exactly what I did right. So it wasn't wrong. It was just really funny. So because I'm so used to using ChatGPT where you could kind of talk to it in a natural language, but Midjourney is very like literal, like the way
it's very literal. Plus, I've noticed on Midjourney too, even if you rearrange your prompt slightly, it seems to take emphasis like a weights heavier things at the beginning of your prompt versus things at the end. So you can switch around. You can have exactly the same text and switch it around in the prompt and it'll give you different results, like drastically different results in some cases. It's kind of crazy. I've been messing with it a lot this week. I'm burning through my subscription like nothing.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you have the monthly payment and then they lump sum one annual fee. So I'm also making lots of images to make sure that I get my year's worth of membership that I paid to the stupid thing. But
I went monthly, so
yeah, I thought I went monthly until I saw the final charge. I was like, okay. But I whatever, I did their material. It's fine. I'm going to use it for a bunch of my ideas I have.
Yep.
But
there's no concept of the not keyword though. If you put not and put something else behind it, it's guaranteed to put it in.
Yeah. And there's plenty it doesn't do very well. It doesn't do colors very well either. It has a very difficult time when you tell it to say, let's say that you want something in the picture to be green, but you want something else to be red. It'll often mismatch those, or it'll make them like just make something else green or something else red. It's kind of difficult doing that.
Text sucks.
But it's pretty good. On text, it doesn't do anything with. Yeah.
It's really, and even Midjourney, the previous version and the newest version, you kind of have to prompt in a different way based on my research and watching other YouTubers do it, especially for those that are trying to build that same exact character and consistency.
That's hard.
I think it's really hard and it's very time consuming.
What I noticed after like doing bajillion images, when you start having like similar prompts, you could see that it has a similar like style that it falls back to. And so you really, after a lot of use, you kind of realize, it's not randomly generating these images. They're based on somebody else's images and styles. And they're just, creating variations of those. And so I wanted to take an image that I want it to be different, and every time it's still the same thing, and I'm getting like, that's not what I want. But it's just the prompts I'm giving. It's predetermined somewhere. This is what you're gonna get. And
definitely has a style that you can kind of see.
Yeah.
But I think you also have to dictate the style. Like
you do, otherwise, like Paul said, it defaults back to this whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of this like flowy, colorful style, isn't it? It's like default. You can kind of tell what it looks like.
Midjourney style.
I did get beta access to Adobe Firefly too, so I've been messing with that a little bit too. Nowhere near as good as Midjourney. It's not even close. It's definitely a beta product.
But better than DALL-E 2 though.
But better than DALL-E 2, yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not some
getting
kind of
any love.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's not some kind of better version of that though, because it doesn't feel like Midjourney. It feels more like DALL-E and Stable Diffusion than Midjourney. But its controls are good. It has a panel where you can have kind of more point and click things, so you can choose a style without having to write it out. There's buttons you can click, say, I want like a sketch style, and I want it to be an art based. And you can choose some of the mediums you can kind of choose by button pressing. So it gives you like ideas for prompts really. So you can put in a prompt that's just like, I don't know, a pig flying. And then you can choose the styles based on like drop downs and more selections in a control panel, more Photoshop like than prompt engineering.
So I got another idea for an AI product. You know how a lot of people, this is actually not dumb, I hope, but you know how a lot of people make presentations. No, this is actually not dumb. The first time I'm going to have an idea that's actually
see if I need to fund it.
Normal, but
we need like a pitch section on this podcast.
Yeah.
But
Post
pitch
you know how they have like clip art libraries. So you can go to Etsy and buy clip art for presentation. You make a clip art generator that makes it easy for you to import those images into your presentation, and that's your product.
Yeah.
It's like
it's called PowerPoint. No, they've got it.
Man, God damn it!
I don't know if they do that.
Too late. I'm like 20 years too late. Jesus.
Yeah.
Doesn't Canva already have their own version for that?
Canva's got
Maybe.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But that's why it's a good idea, Paul, because maybe it already exists.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
true.
auto-generated clip art.
Yeah. No, I do like the idea. I don't know if it exists.
Just being
though, but
nice,
I do like
Kevin.
it.
I appreciate
No, I like it. No, I like it. Okay, let's get on to my favorite section. April Fool's jokes. So, full disclosure, I don't want to talk about this section. But Bobby put this on the list on the Trello board. He was like, "What do you think about talking about April Fool's jokes?" And I was like, "Do we have to? Like, I don't know. I'll let you guys speak first. What do you guys think about? Do you see any good ones?
I think it's dumb, but I did an April Fool's, and I was surprised.
One. You don't think it's dumb? You made one.
No, it's dumb. But that's the whole point. I made a dumb one, and I was so shocked how many people thought I was real.
Right.
Like, people literally thought that I was going to give up coding and do music instead because of AI. And that blew my mind. I had so many people reach out like privately, like, are you serious? I'm like, dude, look at the date. Look at the date. It's April Fool's. And then halfway through the video, I tell people it's April Fool's, but people got so like upset with me that they didn't even watch the whole stream because I'm like, how can this guy quit? He's been talking about switching careers to coding, and now he's just a big loser like the rest of them. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
I know all of us are in the US, but how global is April Fool's?
It's in the UK. I know that. I don't
It's
know
in
about
the
anywhere
UK?
else. That's my
Okay.
other
I don't know
favorite
anywhere
reference.
I don't think Koreans celebrate April Fool. Do Russians? I have no idea.
No.
I don't know. I think it's so weird. It's the
Every
one
day is
day
April
of the
Fool's.
year. It's the one day of the year that I'm like, I just don't want to go on the internet. It's just, I know that because half the stuff I'm going to read is just fake, and then sometimes the stuff is like close to truth, and it's like I find myself being like, is that true or not true? It's like, and if it is true, what on earth are you doing talking about it on this day? Because you're an idiot. Like, what company is putting out an actual announcement on this day? Because companies do. So you get the truth mixed in with the junk, and the junk these days is just like, it's just a waste of my time. I just want to like curl up in a ball on that day and just not read anything.
So my favorite one was Elgato Home. So Elgato, we use a lot of their products here, and they were announcing Elgato Home. And I have to say, I was like sucked in for about 40 seconds. Like, what's Elgato? Y'all making couches now? Like, what is it? And then when I realized that it's a flip up trash can with an RGB light in it, I realized, oh, this April Fool's. And then the Razer gaming mouse, that's also a Razer. You can shave with it. Was actually well produced. I never believed that one, but that was
that's
kind of funny.
That's what concerns me. That it was well produced. Somebody spent time doing that.
They did.
Like, there was somebody like, hey, we need to make an April Fool's video. Let's get out. We've got a budget of like whatever it cost them to make it at the time. And I'm just like, why are we? What a waste of time. What's the point?
Now, the best April Fool's joke of all time was when ESPN, this was probably 15 years ago, ran an April Fool's joke saying that Major League Baseball switched to aluminum bats. And they had all of these pictures and interviews with all these people. It went on for an hour about how all the home runs are going to be shattered, and like the Major League pitchers are going to have to wear special face masks now because, no more wood bats. And then April Fool's at the end. I was suckered on that one for sure.
I saw levels.fyi. And they have a GPT-4 comparing themselves. Basically, levels.fyi is a place where you could see salaries based on job titles. But now they added GPT-1, 2, 3, 3.5, and 4. And I thought they got rid of it, but it's actually still up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
I thought that YouTube channel Fireship did a good video on April Fool's. That was like a good one if you missed it.
Paul, I'm pretty impressed by your video because I thought you were going to break character like within the first 10, 20 seconds. But
I almost did. I got pretty emotional. I almost like cried, and I was like, wow, I didn't know I could cry on cue. That's so psychotic, you know? It's like,
see, I can never do that. If we did something like we're shutting Coder Foundry down, I would probably, my phone would ring for 3 weeks. I mean, like, you know,
what's the ROI behind that? You know,
zero
like,
for us.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
This is my point. This is my point. I'm like, if Bobby has to do that, I'd be like, do we have to? This is
no,
so
I'll tell you
stupid.
what it is. I'll tell you what it is. And maybe most people don't think this way, but it's like, why do you watch Super Bowl commercials during a Super Bowl? Because you think they're going to be pretty awesome and funny. So on April Fool's, you want to hear what is the dumbest or craziest thing that company's going to do, which is going to be believable and will fool you. But you know it can't be true because it's April Fool's. And that's why, to your point, Kevin, anybody that did any serious announcement on April Fool's, they're just idiots. It's just because I've seen a bunch of people. Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. I was like, what are you doing? It's April Fool's. Just wait till tomorrow. Like, I can't take you seriously right now.
we can make April Fool's joke that we're switching away from C#, you know, and then people will congratulate us, you know. It's like,
Strappy did a good one last year, and they got so much flack about it. I didn't work there, but they said they were going to rewrite all of the back end in PHP.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
See, some things you just can't joke about, right?
You can't. No. Because there's PHP
Coder
fans out there.
Coder Foundry is now a coding. Coder Foundry is a school for gamers, not coders.
Medical coding. We're doing medical coding now. We're switching.
Yeah, medical coding. Yeah, that happens a lot to us.
Cobalt only.
Cobalt coding is the
Cobalt
how you
only.
get the 6-figure income. Cobalt all the way.
Yeah, so enough to say that I didn't have a favorite one because I didn't watch any of them. I just avoided the internet for a day. I don't know if I don't recall any one of them. Other than reading the story from the USA Today story about talking about the best pranks. I was like, oh, I missed that one. I guess I missed that one. I looked through them. I was like, none of these are great. None of these are. They're not fun. Isn't it supposed to be funny? Isn't that kind of one of the things?
The Razor was funny. Yeah. I mean, it's very funny.
Okay, I didn't watch it. Maybe it is funny.
They should just make a Razor.
They should. That's like, you know,
combine like
a no-brainer.
Oh, that would have been a good one. Manscaped and Razor come together to create the most amazing thing.
Collab.
Like, you could, manscape yourself while gaming.
Yeah. But that's it. That you could shave with the mouse. You know, it's just like,
it's like
the guy was shaving in the screen. You know,
it's like you're shaving and getting kills in like your favorite video game. You're like dominating and like
that's Call of Duty on your face.
Like, oh, look at that, I got that guy. Oh, and I'm clean shaven for my next date coming up right now. Razor mouse. Right. No,
Razor.
That dumbass idea. That's stupid, but funny. You know, it's.
I guess
I thought it was funny.
Kinda,
I laughed.
It's kind of funny.
I think I laughed more than when I pitched the idea to Kevin that how much he rejected it. How
I could see
he was serious. He's like, I hate April Fools.
And to me, I'm like, is he pretending to hate it so much? And
no,
I'm realizing, he's actually really.
No. I get it. I understand it, and I choose not to partake.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like
the hatred is real. So.
Yeah, the hatred of April Fools is real.
We're going to do April Fool's deep fake next year where Kevin talks about how it's his favorite time of the year. I'm going to put it on my to-do list.
That would be the best April Fool's. You know what my favorite holiday is?
Remind me. If I forget, remind me. I'm going to do a deep fake with Kevin saying how much he loves April Fool's.
Yeah.
By then, it'll be legit. By then, we may not even be here. And we'll all be showing up deep fakes here anyway. We won't even have to show up and do this anymore.
I know. This is all going to be prompt generated.
Yeah, we're just going to shove all of our info in our own individual characters, and they'll just talk to each other. Yeah,
that's it. Okay, well, that's it for this episode of the Not Null Podcast. Ask you to do a couple of things if you could. If you've never left us a review anywhere, I would love if you leave us a review. That would be great. And also, if you could share this podcast with somebody who you may think might enjoy it, may think it's fun. If you've listened to it this far, you've obviously enjoyed it, I hope. You know, the 3 people that have got this far, maybe. I don't know. That would be great. Just us 3. Yeah. Just us 3. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. Personal note to myself at the end of this. Like, if you're listening to this, no. Okay. We'll be back next week with another episode. We'll catch you guys later.